The slideshow element displays an image slideshow with text overlays. Each slideshow item has an image field or an alternative video field, 3 text fields, title, meta, and content, as well as a link with its text field. There is also an additional navigation thumbnail image field, which can be used for a thumbnail navigation. Now let's take a look at the element settings. The slideshow element has several options to define its size. If you set the height to auto, the slideshow will take up the full width, and the height will adapt automatically based on the defined ratio. Optionally, you can limit it by a minimum or a maximum height. The height can also adapt to the height of the viewport. Just make sure no height is set in the section settings. Additionally, you can set the text color of the content and navigation to either light or dark. Since we have dark images, our text color is set to light. You can also choose one of the different slideshow transitions. For example, here you can see a pull animation, push, scale, and a slide animation. In addition to the transition, you can also add a Ken Burns animation for the image. The slideshow element has various navigation options. You can add a dot nav or a thumbnail navigation and an additional slide nav to navigate to the previous and next slides. Also, define the position, margin, and color for each navigation. For example, in my case, I have a dot nav navigation positioned in the bottom center. Here I have a slide nav navigation positioned in the bottom right corner and a dot nav in the bottom left corner. If you have selected a thumb nav, you can set the width and the height for the thumbnail image. Also, define whether the thumbnails wrap into multiple lines if the container is too small. If you have selected SVG images, you can inject them into the page markup and further style with CSS. For example, you can choose an SVG color. Optionally, you can select a different image for the thumbnail for each slideshow item. Just like with the other navigations, you can select the position for the thumb nav. In this example, I have a thumb nav which is positioned in the bottom center. And here in both examples, the thumb nav is positioned below the slideshow on the left and on the right. The slideshow images can have a text overlay. You can also define its position, style, and width. Additionally, select a transition for the overlay when sliding between items. For example, here you can see an overlay default style with a fade animation. And the example on the right also has a fade animation, but with the tile default style. Next, we have 2 other examples with the tile default style. On the left with a parallax animation, and on the right with a slide bottom small animation. And finally, here you can see a tile secondary style with a fade animation. If no width is set in the section or row and the slideshow takes the full width, as in our example above, its overlay text can be aligned in the same way as a section container. So you can set a container width and padding. Instead of an overlay transition, as shown in the examples above, you can also create a parallax effect by moving the overlay, title, meta, content, and link at different speeds while sliding between the slideshow items. In my case here, I added a parallax animation for the title, meta, and link. Of course, the slideshow element has much more other settings. But since options for the different content fields are very similar across all elements, they are described in the corresponding image, headline, text, and button elements.